Hi friends, welcome back to Farm Girl Diaries. My name is Caitlin and it's been about a week since we've been together. My life has had a lot of craziness going on, but I hope the craziness is done and I need to get out to this garden. This garden looks like a mess. She is embarrassing at this point, but I picked up 2 bales of straw. So we are going to be back out here later this weekend. Today is the Thursday before July 4th. So we are going to be out here this weekend to hopefully rein in this garden craziness. But one of the things that we're going to do today is we're going to harvest some things. And we're going to start trying to put a little bit of this garden back together. So this video is just going to be a really quick harvest. Like I said, I just got home from work and I am hungry and I want dinner and I don't have anything to eat tonight. So I'm going to harvest some food and we're going to see if I can come up with any inspiration from what I harvest. So the first things first is the potatoes. We were at the potato bed and the potatoes are coming out. We are about I normally harvest my potatoes around July 15th. I could let these go a little bit longer. I could let these go the full 2 weeks yet, but I'm done. I don't care. This bed is messy. I have a whole bunch of weeds growing, and I'm just at the point that I want to start reclaiming some spaces, so I'm going to take these out. I do have, and I'll bring you down and show you here. Is a potato that you can tell has seen better days. It's laying over. And then in the ground, I can start to see some potatoes that are breaking the surface of the ground. So they shouldn't break the surface of the ground. What'll happen is they'll start to turn green. Red skin potatoes don't do it as easily as like Idaho bacon potatoes do. But if they get too much sun, they turn green. Look at that big guy. And they say it can be toxic for you. I don't think it's toxic. I've eaten many a green potato, but it's just what your stomach can handle. So once they start breaking the surface like that, I kind of consider them to be done. The other sign that you're looking for is you're looking for the plants themselves to start looking kind of bad. The plants will start dying back. Typically, when they flower, the plant flowers, and after it flowers, about 2 weeks after it flowers is when you want to harvest your potatoes. However, my potatoes, for reasons that I don't really know, started trying to flower in like early May. And so I was coming through and I was plucking all of the flowers off. So that didn't really work for me this year. But these potatoes are more than ready to come out. Like I said, I could leave these in here longer, but I don't want to. So these are looking really, really nice. And I am going to get a fall harvest of potatoes in. I bought my fall potatoes. So what's really nice about this is I'm really hoping I don't have to buy potatoes again. So these potatoes here that I planted these and I pulled the potatoes that I put in the ground for this year's harvest. Potatoes I put in the ground in April, I pulled out of my ground in July of last year. And then those potatoes were leftovers from the year before. So I haven't had to buy potatoes in a while. However, this year was the first year. Oh, I think last year I had leftovers. So this year's the first year I'm doing a spring and a fall crop. Last year I did a spring and a fall crop, but I had potatoes left over that I didn't plant from my July harvest. So I pulled them in July. I plant them in March or April. I had potatoes left over there that I was able to plant for my fall crop. I believe if I'm remembering correctly. This year I didn't have that. So do you see why I want to get these out? Because look at all the weeds. This year I put all of my seed potatoes, all my leftover potatoes, I put in the ground in March. I don't have any potatoes for seed potatoes. So I had to go buy potatoes, which I haven't had to do in a very long time. So I went and I bought just some Idaho bacon potatoes, and they are the potatoes that we are going to plant in a couple weeks. So probably, on, probably mid-July, I'll put my next round of potatoes in. I should have really got a trowel to help me dig all this up, but I didn't think of it until I was out here. And when I came out, it was still kind of cool, and there was at least a nice breeze blowing, and there's not a breeze anymore. So now I'm kind of like, let's just get this done. Pulling potatoes is one of my favorite things because it's like a treasure hunt. You go and go and go until you find a potato. I think this evening I'll come back with like a trowel and try to make sure I didn't leave any. But then what's nice is if you leave any, then you have these as potatoes that'll grow next year. So I had volunteers this year. I got garbage there. My volunteers I pulled about a week ago, and they grew me 7 pounds of potatoes. So that was 7 pounds of free potatoes. So I was really excited. And again, all these potatoes are free too. These are potatoes that I've planted and harvested and planted again. So what's nice is I will leave some of these potatoes. Just, I won't can all of them. Some of them will get canned. Some of them will get kind of put aside for fresh eating. And what I have next summer, whatever's left next summer, and there will of course be a few left, I will plant those in the spring. Come March for my summer harvesting. So it's kind of just like a circular cycle. You kind of do it once, and if you're smart about it, kind of like pay attention, you can just kind of continually have free potatoes. So this is really largely a free food source. And these potatoes this year, I didn't fertilize once. I was out of fertilizer. I like to fertilize my potatoes with potash or potash. I didn't have any of that this year. And so far, they're looking pretty good. Again, these could have gone longer, but like I said, I'm reclaiming some space. Okay, I had to go wash my legs because they were very dirty. But that's a nice little solid basket of free, completely free food. So I will take that in and weigh that, and I'll let you know how much that weighs. But I probably had maybe 20 really shriveled up potatoes from the summer before that I planted this spring. And so for no fertilizer, that gave me a good amount of potatoes. Now, if I had if I had put fertilizer on them, they probably would have done better. The rule is my God, I have a lot of weeds. The rule is each potato plant grows, I think it's supposed to grow up to 50 pounds of tomatoes. No, 10 pounds of potatoes is supposed to grow 50 pounds of potatoes. So I definitely have 10 pounds of potatoes. So, and I have a nice little, I'm going to estimate 22 pounds for this. I have a nice little harvest here. So, like I said, some will get canned and some will get set back or set aside for fresh eating. And then I'm going to do the Idaho bacon potatoes are going to be entirely the only thing I plant in the fall. And I'm trying to get a huge harvest because I'm really low on potatoes. So I'm trying to get a huge harvest that will take me through next year. And then two, especially if you want to get in the cycle of not having to buy potatoes or seed potatoes next year, you got to think about it now. So I will honestly pick some of these potatoes and I'll set them aside. I just keep them in a cool, dark place. They'll shrivel up, they'll try to grow stems, whatever. Break them off when you see them. And then those are the ones that I'll put in the ground for next year. So I'll think about that now as I'm getting ready to preserve these. I'll put some aside and then because I'm doing these ones now because I'm not doing any red potatoes for the fall. So if I want to harvest red potatoes next summer, I need to keep some aside to plant. Okay, let's go get a couple more things. I know the next thing I have is zucchini and cabbage, so let's go pick some of them. Friends, we are not judging this garden. Goodness. The weather conditions have been absolutely prime for everything to grow, and everything is growing substantially. And I could do with the weeds not being quite as happy as they are. So, take the leaf off. Oh Lord. I got 2 nice size zucchini. I have quite a few in there that are still coming. I'm going to let them get a little bit bigger. And my sweet potatoes, I'm kind of checking on my sweet potatoes, making sure we're not stepping on any of them. They're growing really, really nicely. So when I come in, I'm not going to do this now. The potato bed looks worse than it did before I got started. But I've decided that this broccoli area is where oh, I'm dirty. I got mud on me. The broccoli area is where the fall potatoes are going to go. And so I'm not sure what I'm going to do over here. I'm kind of thinking I might try to just throw some broccoli seeds in the ground. I have dirt on my glasses. That's really annoying. Throw some broccoli seeds in the ground and see if they'll germinate. I try growing broccoli and cauliflower for the fall every single year, and I'm always unsuccessful. So we might do that. There has been years where I put this whole area to bed, and I'm like, you know what? I'm done with it. Go to bed. So we'll see. Ouch. We'll see what I decide to do with it. I also, in mid-July, throw carrots into the ground. I throw carrots in the ground it's you have a longer period, mid-July to mid-August. Throw your carrots in the ground, water them, let them germinate, and then I overwinter them in the ground. So I don't pull them. So especially with a bed like this, I might just go buy a whole bunch of carrot seeds and just throw a whole bunch of carrot seeds in here. It can overwinter in here. I don't have to do anything to put this bed to bed come fall. And then every time I need carrots during the winter, I can come pull them. So I might actually do that. That's actually a really good idea. I really suck at growing carrots, so putting this whole bed in carrots would be something. But at this point, I don't really know what I would put in there, so that's an option. So I checked these 2 zucchini. These 2 zucchini have a couple more zucchinis, but we're going to wait on them for a little bit. I'm checking my broccoli. She is done. The broccoli is also going to come out this week, so it's going to take me, I think, a whole weekend to really kind of rein this space in. I think I might go section by section because it's honestly overwhelming. I have bugs on me now. It's honestly overwhelming. The garden always gets wild, but this is the first year that it's gotten this wild. And if you've watched any of my other videos, I am dead set, dead set that this year the sun is more intense than it has ever been. Normally, this is the state of my garden in July. Everything I've harvested earlier, the fact that I'm done with broccoli this early is not normal for me. So the sun has just been much more intense this year. But we're gonna rein it back in. So I think because it's supposed to be really hot. That's the problem. Is when you plant your seeds, there's the saying, when you start your seeds in the winter, think about the summer gardener. You want to think about the July, August gardener, because right now it's really hot, but there is a lot of work to be done. So I like to come out in the morning and get a good start on Like get work done before it gets too hot. Now, tomorrow morning, I unfortunately have to go get blood work done first thing in the morning, and I have to fast for it. So tomorrow morning will not be a good work day. However, I should check actually. It's July 4th. I bet you the labs aren't open on July 4th. That actually might change. I might actually be able to work. Anyway, I like to come out. The whole point of that is I like to come out in the morning and get work done. Now, we have the very first tomatoes of the season, and they're grape tomatoes. And I am so excited. So let me check, before we talk about these grape tomatoes, let me check my cherry tomatoes that I planted at the exact same time. See if there's anything on them. Anything ready. No. There's nothing ready on those. Okay. So these are the first tomatoes. And as much as I want to take a bite of them right now. I love to eat tomatoes fresh from the garden, especially the first one. I like to eat fresh from the garden. I've really been craving like tomatoes with my dinner. So I'm going to save the little 4 tomatoes that I got. I'm going to save for dinner. However, this is something that happens with tomatoes that you're going to see if you're growing tomatoes. So let's talk about it. So the tomato looks great. And then when you pick it, it has split. So this means that this particular tomato got too much water. So that happens. If you're in a really wet area, or maybe you are overwatering, it gets so much water in there that it just runs out of room to put it, so it ends up splitting. So this is no longer good. You don't want to eat this. You could feed this to your animals if you have chickens or goats, but we don't want to eat this as a person. So I'm going to throw it. By the time August and September roll around and we are just overrun with cherry tomatoes, a lot of times they fall off the plant and they fall on the ground. And that's why I have so many volunteer tomatoes, is because they rotted on the ground. So you don't want to get in the habit of dropping them, but especially the cherries. There's just so many and they just kind of fall without your help. So just keep in mind that you could end up with just keep in mind you could end up with a massive amount of free tomatoes. So let's take a look at our next thing. Like, there's just so much going on here. Let me bring you down and show you, because I don't even know how to explain everything that's happening. So here's a watermelon that does not have any watermelons on it yet. We have what looks to be our first flowers. So that's going there. I have pumpkins. You are currently sitting on a pumpkin. Back here is a massive something. It's a massive one. It's the biggest vine I've ever grown in my life. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a watermelon. I don't know if it is a pumpkin. I think it's a pumpkin. I think it is a pumpkin. But so far, I'm only seeing male flowers on it. So it's making a whole big mess. And I currently don't see any female flowers on it. So I don't know if whatever this is does do male and female flowers. I don't know what this is. So that's going to be fun to figure out. And then climbing over this trellis right now, I have a cantaloupe. I have 2 cantaloupes in here. I don't really know where the other one is. I have massive tomato branch. This area, it's just wild. There's no other way to explain this other than this is just absolutely wild. So we'll see what this does. So the broccoli will come out in this area here, which will make this look nicer, and then I'll put my potatoes in. There are a ton of weeds in here. my cauliflower has not given me a head yet. And so last year, my cauliflower gave me a head in the fall. So I'm going to leave the cauliflower. Actually, look, this one is starting to. That one's starting to give me a little head. Let me see the other ones. That one doesn't. And that one doesn't. So I'm going to leave the cauliflower. If you pull it, you're guaranteed you're not going to have a head. If I leave it, there's a solid chance that I will. But let me show you my broccoli because this looks terrible. I mean, look at this. This is so messy. And so we can see we definitely have things in here eaten. I definitely have weeds. But back here we have things like this broccoli is like eaten completely. And then that broccoli, this broccoli, which I just pulled, has been eaten completely. And then we have a lot of yellow in. So the broccoli is done. I think it's ended a little bit early, but because normally I don't get to catch it all. And some of it goes to seed, but that's not what happened this year. So this space is going to get redone. In here, I don't know if you're able to see. In here, right here, I have a kohlrabi plant. So maybe that's something we can do. So I planted a ton of kohlrabi, probably like 20 plants, 20 seedlings, and they mostly got eaten. So I think I see one like nice tennis ball size one over there now. This one that I just tried to show you is a little bit bigger than a golf ball, so they're going to stay. And I'm hoping I have some more on the outskirts, but maybe that's something else. And with the carrot bed, maybe we try to do a row of broccoli, and maybe we try to do a couple rows of kohlrabi. See if they grow. See if they grow. What's the worst that can happen? Okay. This cabbage is done. Oops. I'm trying to twist this off. Okay, come on. Okay, why can't you do that? I need clippers. But look at our cabbage. And so these cabbage leaves, I just throw them off. Not on the watermelon. And they do make a good mulch too. Throw them on weeds. And they make good mulch. But first cabbage of the year. So you want to pick your cabbage when you squeeze it and there's no give. So this one, and that's, I just rake my fingers down that. That's not a split. I just scratched that. But when you squeeze it and there's no give, it means you have a solid cabbage. And the cabbage is ready. Get off of me, I have an ant biting me. You have a solid cabbage and it's ready to be picked. If you don't pick it when you can't squeeze it anymore, too much water can have it do what it did to the tomatoes. Come on. Oh, there we go. Look at me. Muscles. And too much water can have it split. So I knew that one was ready. I think that's the only one. That one has a little bit, it's almost ready, but has a little bit more give. That one's honestly ready too. Okay. And then I have one tucked in back here. Okay. So my cabbages are not growing at the same rate. And so I didn't do this video this year, but I've talked about it a lot. Whenever you're gardening, and before you garden, before you plant your plants, before you're even in the garden, you want to have an idea of what you're going to make. So for me, with my cabbage, for instance, I always make sauerkraut every single year. And so for me, I typically make I take at least 2 heads of cabbage is a typical jar of sauerkraut for me, or crock of sauerkraut. So I start with 2 heads of cabbage. So I'm thinking about that right now. I have this 1 head of cabbage, which is ready to go. Picked it, great. I have this one here that is honestly could be picked. It doesn't have very much give at all. And then I have one over there that has just a little bit more give. That's 2 heads of cabbage. Now they're a little bit smaller, so I would like to get 3, and I do have one here. So it's like this one has really no give left. This one has a little bit, and then the third one has just a little bit more than that one. So I think I just want to give it. I got bit by an ant, and that hurts. My goodness. Wow, the weeds are going crazy. So are the insects. Anywho, so I know that I want to make sauerkraut, and I'm thinking I want to make these 3 cabbages be my sauerkraut. So I'm going to try to pick these all at the same time so I can make that 1 batch of sauerkraut. I also know that I don't need to make any more pickled coleslaw. That's another thing I do with my cabbage. I made pickled coleslaw last year. And so I'm actually hungry. I think tonight's dinner is going to be shrimp fried rice. So I think I'm going to use this cabbage as fresh cabbage for my shrimp fried rice. So it's really important when you harvest them to think about what you want to make. I don't want to pull this cabbage that's basically ready to go. And we're not getting any rain, and I'm not going to water. I don't want to pull that right now because I don't want that to sit. It would honestly sit fine in the fridge. I don't really want to let that sit for too long while I wait for the other 2 to get done. So I'm just going to leave it in the ground, and it'll be fine. So I think that's all over here, over in this whole mess. My ant bite hurts. How rude of it to bite me. Okay, so let's go, and I'll show you this space from a different viewpoint so you can see just how bad this space is. I mean, this is terrible. This is terrible. So I'm thinking this is going to be so much nicer when it gets pulled out. Maybe tomorrow, well, this weekend for sure, all of this is going to get pulled out. The potato bed will get completely, fully emptied. All the weeds that I just pulled out and through, they'll get chucked out. And we'll get a lot of these weeds under control. And just doing that alone will make this look so much nicer. Here is where my fall potatoes are going to go. I think that'll be great. And then I'm now thinking in the big bed where we just pulled the potatoes from, I'm going to do all my fall plants. I'm going to do a lot of carrots. I'll put at least half of that to carrots. And then I am going to do like a couple broccoli seeds and a couple of cabbage seeds. I think it'd be fun to have fall plants. Fall growing, if you can do it, is the best time to grow. You don't have the heat, you don't have the bugs, you just have the enjoyment of gardening. I just cannot get that to work for me. I don't know why, but it does not. I think the biggest problem for me when it comes to the fall garden is you have to get the fall garden started in like July or August, and it's too hot for me. And I put it under shade cloth, and they still don't grow. So I just don't have success. And every year when I try and I fail, I'm like, next year you're not trying. You can't do a fall garden. Give up, at least for now. And I think I dropped one, but I don't see it. Give up at least for now. And then the next year comes around, I'm like, you know what would be really great is a fall garden. Duh. So we just might try again. I mean, we might try direct sowing. I've never direct sowed. So we might try that. My peas are still producing. The pea plants themselves have seen better days, but they are still producing. So I'm going to take what they want to give me. This one actually I think is done. He's the brownest of the bunch. I don't see any on him. So we're going to leave these pea plants alone. Again, as long as these produce, they stay. They stay. So as long as they produce, they stay. So these have a couple more weeks probably. The hollyhock stems I want to take down. They look terrible. And then we have our beautiful Queen Anne's lace. We have zinnias, we have sunflowers, and we have a couple of weeds. So I just accidentally cut a Queen Anne's lace, so we'll take that with us. And a couple weeds. At the bottom I have marigolds, and I would like to see the marigolds. So we'll have to do some work in this bed too. But we got some peas for dinner, so that's good. I knew I had this big guy. Another zucchini. It is zucchini season. And then over here, let's check these pea plants over here. The peas over here did not do that well. I don't know why. The plants are small, but they are producing. So, well, this one was until I broke it off. That should not have broken that easily. Okay. So in this bed, we're going to come in at some point, and we got to take all of the leaves off of our Brussels sprouts. And then at some point, I don't know when you top your Brussels sprouts. You cut the whole top off. I don't know when that happens yet. But cutting the leaves off, we'll at least probably do this weekend. And then do I have any zucchinis over here? No, I have one small one and a couple babies, but nothing to pick there. Okay. We got one more thing that I want us to harvest today. So let's go up to the house and we'll get that harvested. But we have a pretty nice little harvest here. The last thing that we're going to harvest is our blueberries. So I'm trying to get enough blueberries to make a pie. So I have the little bowl that I've been collecting my blueberries in. Hopefully, with today's harvest, we get a pie, at least a little pie. That is all I've wanted to make with my blueberries since I started growing them. I've not been able to. So, let's see what we got this time. Okay, so that's a nice little harvest we got today. A big basket of potatoes. I think we have enough blueberries to at least do something with, and that'll be a perfect way to celebrate July 4th. So maybe a little pie, maybe a crumble or something. So we'll use up those up for July 4th. And then we got our first cherry tomatoes. Only 3, or grape tomatoes, only 3. But I am excited to have them. So, a nice little harvest. So this is the start of our massive harvest season. So I said a couple weeks ago, I posted on my Instagram that it's the start of you can't go into the garden without a basket season. Now we are fully into massive harvest season. So the things that we still have in there that we're going to harvest soon are the rest of those cabbages. Those kohlrabi will probably pull pretty soon, see what we got there. Our onions should be coming out in about 2 to 3 weeks. They're starting to bulb up. So as soon as they get to a nice size, I'll pull them out. And then we have our beets. My beet bed is completely full of weeds, but there are beets in there. So I think I'm gonna give them till the end of July, and then I'll probably pull that bed out and kind of get rid of that bed. So this weekend we'll be together multiple times this weekend. Do a whole bunch of weeding, laying straw down, kind of getting those paths together, and then probably doing maybe some more plants. And I know I'm going to put sunflowers in the ground, and then see if I can't maybe try again my hand at the fall garden and see if we can't do something. But we've been here for an hour. I did not think this video was going to be that long. I am hungry. My kid is sitting at the door. He is hungry. So I'm going to head in, and we're going to get some dinner made. But we will be back when we process some of this stuff, when we do some of this stuff with this produce. We'll be back together. So I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye, friends.